Travelling independently means that you are in the driving seat. It's up to you to decide exactly what to do. So what happens when you have a last-minute change of plan? Welcome to Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there. Our adventure across Europe continues here in Ljubljana, Slovenia. Now, my original plan had been to go to Lake Bled to relax for a couple of days, but a couple in the bar last night told me that I could easily cover all of the sites there in just a single day. So I'm adjusting things with the help of artificial intelligence. Join us for the journey. So with that change of plan in mind, I've gone through a few things online. I have managed to halve my booking in the hotel at Lake Bled from 2 nights to just 1. That was easy to do. As long as you're staying for the first night, there are no cancellation fees. So I've managed to do that. And then what I've also done is built in an extra location to this journey, which will be Villach in Austria. And I know that place because I've been there before. Now, to plan all of this, I did ask AI. I said, what's the easiest way of doing it? And it came up with the exact plan that I've just outlined to you. So there can be advantages of using technology. I've also used the technology to help to find my way to Lake Bled today. More of that a little bit later. So here's the choice. You could pay about 50 or 60 euro for a day trip to Bled from Ljubljana, or you can do what I've done, is to buy the tickets online for the bus, have them printed out by the hotel and come here to Ljubljana bus station. The helpful guy at the ticket office tells me that it's bay number 7 for the 9 o'clock departure, and it's going to only take about an hour to get there. Now, there are also buses about every half an hour through the day, which means if you're basing yourselves in Ljubljana, getting to Bled is really easy, and a one-way ticket is only €5.70. That's going to save you a whole packet on an organised tour, and it's easy to organise it yourself. Do you know what? I've arrived at worse places at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning. It only took us 45 minutes to get from Ljubljana because instead of the local bus, there was an express service for which my ticket was still valid, which meant we avoided all the small towns and villages along the way, which might have been nice to see, but instead what we got was a perfect vista driving along a straight motorway towards these tremendous mountains in Slovenia. And then we came off the motorway and down to Bled village. 15 minutes later, here we are on the shoreline of Lake Bled itself. Now, it's around 3 kilometres in circumference, so easy enough to walk around. And in the middle is an island, which we're going to explore a little bit later. And to the right of me, perched atop a hill, is Bled Castle with a Slovenian flag flying from the ramparts on the side of a perilous cliff. And below it, another church. And all around us are hills and the mountains in the distance. And above us, 2 paragliders. Wow, they must have got up early to take a flight today. And brave they are too, because although there's not a cloud in the sky, it's tremendously chilly. It's early April, but it's still a little bit cold here, about 10 degrees the air temperature. Up there it's going to be even colder. Goodness, one of the paragliders now coming swooping downwards towards Earth. And it looks like he's going to potentially arrive and land in a nearby field or car park. Thankfully not on the lake, because it would be freezing. And so, to the island by boat. Now, there are a couple of boat services running on Lake Bled, both from in front of the Park Hotel. And one of them has traditional wooden boats, the other is an electric boat. They're both going to take you about 10 minutes to get across, although there is an alternative if you want to hire a rowing boat. Just seeing a family pulling up here on the side, mooring in a tiny wooden boat with paddles. If you're feeling brave enough, you can swim as well. Now, the return boat trip is going to cost you either €8 or €10 each way, depending on whether you go for the wooden or the electric option. And they're fairly strict on the timetable. They want to take back the same number of people as they brought over, so you can't just hop on and hop off any boat. You have to return on the one you came on, so you're going to get just over an hour to explore the island. Now, while the little island here at Bled gives you spectacular views back towards the mountains, it also gives you a sense of Bled, the town itself, because what you can notice is that there are 3 or 4 large hotels, including the Villach that I'm staying in, and they're all multi-storey, sort of towering up from the water, spoiling the shoreline ever so slightly, but it's something you don't see from that side. It looks rather like a ski resort by the water, that kind of thing. And in the town itself, there's certainly signs of commercialism too. Now, there are lots of hotels here at Lake Bled that you can choose from. I've gone for the Hotel Ljubljana, and I paid a little bit extra for a room that promises a lake view. So we walk in. Oh, good bathroom, yeah. Nice big bed. Oh, some welcome, what do you call them? Macarons. That's nice. Nice little touch there. Tea and coffee. And over here, this must be the door for the balcony. Oh, here we go. And yes, I do have a lake view. Admittedly, it is slightly overshadowed by the massive hotel park across the road and the Novsky Center Bled, which is a shopping centre. Not a very big one of those sort of functional things that's like a precinct from the 1970s. But there is definitely a lake view, and I can see the church and the island and the castle from my room. That's rather neat. I have mentioned this a couple of times on this trip. We are a bit early in the season, which means it's fairly quiet in Bled of an evening. I think I'm quite pleased with my decision to stay here for one night rather than 2. Nevertheless, there are some good bars and restaurants to be had. Lots of grills around here. Just been to the Bleshka Hisha, which is a traditional kind of steakhouse place. Very American looking actually on the inside, but Slovenian in terms of the food and the cuisine. Had a very nice steak. That's the one thing about Slovenia. Don't come here if you're on a diet. When you're walking along the shores of Lake Bled, you can easily forget just how organised the town is for tourism, because everywhere there are hotels going into the sky, 4 or 5 stories, which may not sound like a lot, but in a beautiful place like this, the hotels really do stand out like a sore thumb. Then again, everybody wants a view, so the only way to build is up. And right in the centre of the town, just by the Hotel Ljubljana, is the Trgovski Center Bled, a really, really ugly concrete shopping complex that has loads of bars and retailers in, lots of outdoor gear being sold here, because this is a place to be at one with nature. And also within the shopping centre, you'll find plenty of tourism offices. Now, as an independent traveller, I like to organise things myself. I think you tend to get better value, but you do have to be organised. You do have to have a sense of what you're doing. Now, there's so many activities here: walking, swimming, there is rowing, you can go to nearby gorges, you can explore the forests, lots of things right on the doorstep. But to know exactly where to go, you probably need to enlist the help of a local professional. So as I mentioned, Bled is a beautiful and idyllic place to come and see, and if you're into your outdoor activities, it's worth a few days of your time. But if you just want to see the main sights and come and go, you can probably do so within 24 hours. And that's what I've done. I've decided to shorten my stay here so I can fit in another location and another country. So if you are travelling to or from Lake Bled by railway, you'll need to come here to Lake Bled, which is the connecting station in a town a few kilometres away from Bled itself. Just got a bus up here this morning for my next connection. It only took about 10 minutes and the fare was €1.40. Now my eventual destination today is over the border in Austria, and I'm a bit early for the train actually. 2 hours, and there ain't a great deal to do here in Lake Bled, so I'm just going to get a local train to the larger town of Jesenice to see what's there. Well, change of plan again. There were no signs at Lake Bled station in terms of displays telling you when the trains were coming, and as I was waiting for the train to Jesenice, all of a sudden train turns up to Villach. It's running late from Zagreb, the international service this morning, so I managed to get on this one. And again, it demonstrates the flexibility of having a rail pass. You can hop on and hop off of almost any train. And although it said on this one seat reservations were optional, it's virtually empty. There's only second class, but they are compartments rather than open carriages. And I've got a compartment to myself, so we're on our way to Villach. Well, just as I was getting comfortable in that train carriage, I went into my bag for a sweet. And I discovered that I'd left my wallet with my passport and travel documents back at the hotel in Lake Bled. Fortunately, I realised this before we got to the Austrian border, so I was able to get off the train here at Jesenice, which was going to be my first stop anyway. I was then able to phone the hotel. They found the wallet and they've sent it over in a taxi within 25 minutes of my call, which is pretty good going. It has cost me an extra €40, but hey, that's my own stupidity.
Message 874 from Time Villach is arriving at platform 2E. This train will terminate here.
And here we are, about 35 minutes later, from Slovenia in Austria at Villach main station. Now the main station in Villach is a modern building and really important as a railway junction. From here you can get international connections all over the place and within Austria itself. What was really interesting was a bit of history that we passed through as we left Slovenia and came into Austria. The 8-kilometre Karavanks tunnel was completed in 1906 as part of the Karavanken Railway, which aimed to connect the port of Trieste, which we've of course visited on this trip, with Klagenfurt on Wörthsee, which is a little bit further up the line. And it was strategically important for the Austrians to have trade with the empire to the south. The tunnel itself was commissioned by none other than Archduke Franz Ferdinand. And here we are just a few minutes later in the Hotel Goldenes Lam. Now, this is the second time I've stayed in Villach. It's the second time I've stayed in this hotel. And do you know what? They've given me the same room as last time, which is brilliant because I know what to expect. Huge double bed, queen size bed, king size, lovely. And out here is a balcony, which gives me a nice view of the courtyard. Now, the last time I arrived here, it was absolutely throwing it down with rain. But today, the sun is out, so I think I'm going to have a cup of tea out here. It's rather nice. Now, a little bit like Bled, Villach is a base to explore other parts of this region. There are lakes and rivers all over the place, including the nearby Wörthsee, which I visited on my last trip here. Now, a quick bit of research has actually given me an extra option. Instead of just paying the €10 for the return trip to Klagenfurt, I've been able to get a regional ticket for the whole day for €13. This means if I see somewhere I just fancy the look of, I can get off the train and get on the next one. Hop on and hop off all day long. Well, it's taken me about 15 minutes to walk from the railway station here at Portiskak down to the shores of the lake, and across here is a vast, vast expanse of water. It goes on for miles and miles. It is surrounded by the most beautiful little towns and villages, church spires and the like, and beyond that, the hills and the mountains, partly shrouded in cloud and mist today, and covered in a carpet of beautiful green trees. It's an easy, fairly flat walk down from the station here, no trouble there. And if the weather was a little bit better, this would be a beautiful place to bring yourself a homemade picnic or something like that. You could just sit here, relax and watch the world go by for hours. No boats out on the lake today, looking a bit choppy for that. But on many of the lakes in this area, there are boat services that go sort of from shore to shore. You can buy a day ticket, do a round trip, that kind of thing. Now, the mapping app that I've been looking at suggests a few places around here do things like bicycle hire. I think the best place to start would be in a larger area like Villach. Go to the tourist information, or perhaps your local hotel can advise you the best place to get on two wheels, or do some other activities as well. But you don't need to take a trip out of town to experience nature. If you're arriving in Villach by foot or by car, it is likely that you will cross at some point the Drava River, and its banks make a pleasant afternoon stroll. The river itself's got a very distinctive green hue to it around here, and at first I thought that looks a bit contaminated, but my AI assistant corrected me and said these are minerals and deposits and sediments from the surrounding rocks, which are mainly limestone. Should have remembered that from my A-level geography, shouldn't I? Interestingly, the Drava River is not exclusive to Austria. In fact, it starts in Italy and then goes on to flow through Slovenia, Croatia and Hungary. And there are constant reminders to Villach's connections with the active around here. Along the banks we can see the Villacher Turnverein, which is the local gymnastics academy. It's a huge, distinctive building painted in a pretty yellow and black design. Now, with so much destruction carried out during the Second World War, it can be hard to find genuine historic sites in many parts of Austria and indeed Germany. But as I was standing on the bridge over the river in Villach, I noticed these twin domes and an octagonal tower painted in pink and white just along the river. And a 10-minute walk brought me here to the Heiligenkreuzkirche in Villach. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, but my AI guide tells me that it's a great example of a Baroque church built between 1726 and 1738, designed by Hans Eder, a renowned architect responsible for several other notable chapels. Now, we can't get in today, but my AI assistant tells me that the church became a pilgrimage site in the 18th century due to a miraculous crucifix that was said to have grown out of a nearby wall. And if you look across the road from the church, you will see a walled garden with a memorial to that miracle that happened. And inside is a remembrance garden with quite a few inscriptions and headstones to various notable people who seem to have been buried here in the 19th and 20th centuries. Fascinating little bit of history that you wouldn't get to see and probably wouldn't see in your average tourist guide, that's for sure. Now, if I told you I would take you to a bar where things would hurt a little, you might decline. Yeah, very nice it is too. Now, here at Travelcaster, we like to offer you places that you won't the Lucky Bar. It's really hidden away on a back street. It's got a really unassuming entrance, but inside is a lovely atmosphere, really laid back, friendly staff, great drinks, and some snacks to go as well. To sum it up, Bled and Villach are two sides of the same coin. They're both resort towns, and that's what we've done. It's time to move on now. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and join us again soon for more Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there.